the Democrats or Republicans will have controlled the Senate after the 2020 election, which is now only 5 months away. I know, it seems like the 2016 election just happened, but now all of a sudden we're just 5 months away from the 2020 election. Before we know it, it's already going to be 2024. So here, we want to know who will have control of the Senate starting in 2021 after the inaugurations. It is going to be very tight. This in 2020 is different than in 2018 during the midterms, because in 2020 you have a majority of Republicans up for re-election, giving the Democrats a lot of chances in various states to come and take their seat, compared to 2018 where there's a lot of Democrats up for re-election, so you had the Republicans having the ability to come and take their seats. That's why the Republicans gained seats in the Senate. So as of right now, it is 35 seats for the Democrats and 30 for the Republicans. That is because not all senators are up for re-election. So this is our blank map of what is happening. So let's start off with the states that we know for sure will be electing a Democratic senator. So you start off with Oregon. Oregon definitely will be. And you'll be having Massachusetts. You'll have Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware. Those 100% chance will be electing a Democrat as their senator. Then let's go to the Republicans. You have Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, West Virginia, and that's it. And Alaska. You might be thinking, why is Montana not up there? Well, there's actually a very good reason Montana is not up there. You see, while Montana is, it's very red for the presidential election, but coming down to the Senate, you have John Tester, who has been a senator for them since 2007. He is so popular in the state of Montana, and he's been there since 2007. So that's why this is a toss-up, because he's so popular on the Senate level. But compared to the presidential election, the Democratic Party is so unpopular. So this is a pure toss-up right here. So let's move to the likely Democratic senators. You will have New Hampshire most likely be electing their Democratic senator. And you will have Illinois also most likely be electing their Democratic senator. Going back to, let's look at the state of Alabama for a moment. The state of Alabama actually has a Democrat as their incumbent. You have Doug Jones, who in the special election defeated Roy Moore. The reason was Roy Moore had all these scandals going on, and people just didn't want to vote for him. So instead they voted for a third party, and that allowed Doug Jones to get re-election. But that's not going to happen here. Doug Jones is going to be unseated, and a Republican will take over there. So, also likely you will have in Virginia, you'll have a Democrat be elected, and the same thing in Minnesota and New Mexico. So as of right now, that is 45-45. Let's move on to the likely red Republican seats. So you have Texas, you have Georgia. There's actually two elections going on in Georgia right now for Senate. There are two senators are up for re-election. You know why? That is because Georgia is having a special election as well. So there are two. However, while polls have been showing that it is a super tight race, when you look at historically, yes, I know Georgia's been moving more and more to the left, but that I just can't see that happen. I expect, for example, in the presidential election, the Biden campaign to think Georgia's in play, spend money there on ads and everything, but then a few weeks after the convention, believe that it's out of reach, and therefore that will also put some of the Senate races out in reach. So I believe that Georgia will have two Republican senators elected this year. So now let's move on. Other states, we have Colorado will most likely lean it. You have John Hickenlooper, who is very, very popular. And Colorado is also more of a blue state, so that's why I expect him to be elected. So now we have all of these states here. These states are the ones that you can say is more of a toss-up. And in states that you don't have that many presidential polls or Senate polls taken, you have to rely more on the presidential election. Because when someone goes out to vote, more times than not, they'll be voting for one party. Someone might go out and say, hey, this time I'm going to go and fully vote for the Republican Party. Not many people go out and vote, hey, I'm going to vote Trump to be president, and then I'm going to vote Hickenlooper to be my senator if I live in Colorado, and then I'm going to vote Republican for the House. It's usually one party. The one main exception is Montana, where Montana has been going red so long, but John Tester has been in the Senate as a Democrat for so long in Montana. So, for example, a state like North Carolina, where there's not much Senate data, you have to look at the presidential election, and Trump has been winning more so in North Carolina than other states. You have in the other day a Gallup poll stated that Trump is up by 4 points, and that is why I believe that North Carolina will tilt Republican, and that will elect the 49th Republican to the Senate. And that goes for the same thing. As I said, in North Carolina, I believe the same thing will be happening in Iowa. So there, that will put Republicans at 50 and already give them half the share of the Senate. So now, look at Arizona. Arizona is very, very close. Some of the polls are making it seem that it's not actually that close. And you are having Martha McSally being down by in so many polls. Yes, she is so unpopular. But, Arizona historically, red state. It's been moving to the left more and more. So that's why it's going to be very close. You have Mark Kelly, who is a former astronaut, trying to win an election. But, this is another thing. It's such a tight race. But, you have Mark Kelly has been getting such large amount of funding, and McSally isn't even favored by her own party, so that's why I believe Mark Kelly will win the Senate seat. So now let's look at these 3 states remaining. We have Montana, Michigan, Maine. Maine should be a complete toss-up. You have a Republican trying to go for re-election here. However, with Maine is more of a blue state, except for Maine's 2nd district, which is all the northern part of the state. But here, the 1st district is much more populated and much more liberal than the 2nd district, so I believe that will give the Democrats a seat in the Senate right here with a very tilt margin. So that's 50-48. I look at Michigan now, and Michigan is another one that, historic swing state, but, it is a historic swing state despite the data from like 4 years showing that it's always been blue. That's not the case. Michigan has been in play for so long, and this is one of the most influential states in this election. And you have your Senate, you have John James, the Republican, who is trying to unseat Gary Peters, the Democrat. When you look at the poll, Peters has been up by between 4 to 10 points. So, yes, it is going to be a very close race. I don't believe it will be that far, like 5 points. I think it will be much closer, but I believe that Michigan will vote blue. And here in Montana, that is so tough. This is really a pure toss-up. I can't give you an answer on that. I can't give you an answer on Montana. But, I will have to give this to the Republicans to make it 51-49. And I believe that the Republicans will retain control of the Senate here. Now you have this one blank spot, VP. That's for the Vice President. And that is in case there's a tie, 50-50 in the Senate. The Vice President comes in and breaks the tie. In my presidential prediction, I predicted Joe Biden to win the presidential election. So that would mean his VP would also be a Democrat. So that would give it to them in case it's a tie. and there, whether he runs with, let's say, like Val Demings, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Gretchen Whitmer, they're going to be VP, and then that will be able to break a 50-50 tie if one Republican decides to go with the Democrats. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. This is my presidential election. Sorry, my Senate predictions. Comment what you think. And yeah, subscribe to stay tuned for more content like this. Thank you.